Okay, listeners, let's learn sumo. I'm Clayton. Welcome to the podcast. We are joined again by our special guest, Goose from Sunday Morning Sumo. How are you, Goose?
Doing good. Yourself?
Excellent, mate. Post tournament, I get a bit of a holiday after all the notes you got to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to finally, as much as I love doing the sumo, 15 days in a row is a little taxing, so it's nice to be off.
Those who haven't joined us on Sunday Morning Sumo, Goose and JJ do 15 days of commentary of the top division every day. JJ is in Canada, so that poor guy has to get up at 3 a.m. Like all of my American listeners, if they want to watch sumo, have to get up at the wee hours of the morning to watch sumo. JJ, I don't know how he does it over 15 days at a drive. I couldn't do it.
Me neither, but I'm thankful for it nonetheless.
I reckon I'd do it once and then go, no, that's too much for me. I can't play that game. Okay, don't forget to join me on Instagram or X at Let's Learn Sumo. You'll find this on YouTube and your normal podcasting streaming service. We will get into the Nagoya Basho, the summer Basho in Nagoya, last time at the Dolphin Stadium. This time won by Yokozuna Terunofuji. That was his 10th win. Fairly impressive for anybody to win any sort of show, but to win 10, he is a big man, and I'm sure that plays a little bit into his hands. What do you reckon, Goose? 10 wins.
Little scary towards the end there. On day 8, you wouldn't have said this would have been a playoff victory. So he was looking pretty ahead of the pack for a while, and then actually started to slow down a little bit. Some of those really heavy matches against Basho and Ura kind of, I think, hurt him a little bit, and wasn't quite the wrestler he was halfway through towards the end of it.
And he's certainly turning Onosato into one of his nemesis in terms of, I think that's Onosato's second win against him, and I think Takanosho's now gone positive against the Yokozuna as well, so maybe going up against him late in the Basho is the way to do it.
Yeah, seems to be the case.
We'll have a chat to the scheduling committee and say, hey, look, I'd rather go last, thanks. I don't want to go first. He's a bit too fresh there. For old Hiradumi, he went first and got Yorikiri'd straight out. So, I think he's learned his lesson.
Yep, seems to have done quite well himself, though, despite that.
Yeah, look, we'll get to Hiradumi a little bit later. Terunofuji's performance, like some really good dominant wins early on, and as you said, I think probably one of the fights of the tournament, and if not, join my list of fights of the year, Terunofuji versus Ura. What a fight that was.
Oh my goodness gracious. I've never seen Ura move so fast and look so strong.
I watched it again this afternoon, and I kind of put it down to like a parent trying to change the nappy on a toddler, and that toddler wiggling around, and you got no chance of catching them.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. I noticed Ura, I've never really seen him kind of accept defeat like that, but the way when he just stepped out, but when you look back and the way Teru had his arm cranked all the way up like that, almost trying to dislocate the shoulder, it makes sense that he would tap out, whereas like I'm on the ropes, I'm in a lot of pain, just I've recognized I've been beat.
And the fact that Terunofuji didn't give him the contemptuous push he did with, say, Kirishima back in January, that he just helped him over the bales. And I think that was kind of partly an acknowledgement that was a really good fight by Ura. He showed balance, he showed adaptability, he showed a bit of patience as much as Ura can show to get in and put different things to the Yokozuna, and not just, that was kind of one of the things I thought people were doing throughout the tournament, like Kirishima, Gonayama, they just played straight into Terunofuji's hands. And we'll come back to that later, but Ura just seemed to have a plan and a second plan and a third plan.
Ura is the bane of Sunday Morning Sumo show, because trying to commentate his matches are very difficult, because he will do something you've never seen before in the sport, and it takes him half a second to do it, and you have to process what that was and then try to explain it to people.
I think I saw a video of him once doing it's the kimarite is called a kimono string drop, and basically it's almost like a WWE style move where you get in behind them and you get them up on your shoulders and kind of drop them backwards. It was the most crazy thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it was. I think that was also like the first time in 20 years in top division that's happened.
Yes. If anyone's going to break out a new kimarite, it is going to be Ura. Certainly, you know, it's interesting. Gonayama and Kirishima both gave, well, I thought gave the Yokozuna exactly what he wanted. Uh, Whereas Ura, he didn't go in as low. He didn't. He tried to do to Terunofuji what Terunofuji did to him twice early this year by getting him by the arm for almost that drag around Kotanage arm lock, and Ura very easily got onto that arm first up, and you could see he had a plan to not let him get his arm and kind of reciprocate to him on how he dragged him around. It was interesting to see how he executed that.
He is kind of a world class wrestler under all that, which makes things
Mm,
very interesting to watch.
And certainly
Being
he had plenty of options to move to, but I think there was one point that was it Ura that did the pirouette in front of him, or it might have been
there was a showdown match where that happened. I remember.
yeah. I know it just kind of it piqued my interest that Terunofuji had a chance to jump in and go the big push, but he just didn't have the speed to do it. He struggles going sideways now, and certainly hasn't got that lateral ability. But his power, his grip strength, and the way he goes about it it's all clearly still there. He's still clearly the top of the tree in terms of all of the rikishi in the Bansuke.
Definitely.
Mm. So, as we said, he's got a bad record to Onosato and Takanosho. There's talk of him being made a Dai Yokozuna, which I think sometimes comes with 10 Yusho wins, but I'm just not sure that that's entirely the case. I think there's more to it than that. It's like an elevated status for Yokozuna. He is hoping that he gets that. Takanosho, Magashira 6 East, up against Terunofuji 4 in the playoff for the Yusho. 29 from Tokiwayama. Now, he's a bit of a veteran. He's 487 victories, 400 losses, 21 absences. He has previously made it to Sekiwake. It started in 2010, got to Sekiwake in 2020, fell back to Komusubi, back up for one more Basho. Takanosho's got some quality behind him. 3 Kimboshi, 3 Junyu shows, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. 3 Kanto show special prizes, 1 Shukun show special prize. So I tell you what, he's had what's coming on to a very long career and a stellar career at some very high ranks. For me, I mean, I'm a bit of an underdog follower, so I was kind of cheering for him, to be honest.
Um, as harsh as this to say, I've actually kind of counted Takanosho out in the last year or so.
Mm,
Noticed him slowly kind of slipping away. You know, a former Sekiwake had it for a while, but has never really come back to what he used to be. And then I watched him Junyu show this year and get 2 Kimboshi this year,
mm.
and he's kind of found his power back again. It's very inspiring to see.
Is it like partly maybe some carrying some injuries that you never hear of and things like that take them a long time to get through it? Maybe.
Oh, they all are. No one's ever really fighting at 100%.
Mm, mm.
Maybe Ono Sato because he's still so fresh to top division. That's about it.
Well, that's true too. I mean, he did face Oho early in the tournament, and Oho, as we said before we came on air, really strong this tournament. I thought he displayed some great strength and great movement this tournament, and he went up hard. There was a really good exchange of thrusts with Oho, but he still, Takanosho kept him off the belt, dropped his head, and drove him back. Oho, even with his strength, he just had no defense, which kind of showed Takanosho. It was his first win, actually, day 3. He really, he was interested in having a bit of intent this tournament.
There's there's a lot of people looking pretty strong actually that had rather breakout tournaments. Oho, another guy being like that. He's one of these guys again. One of these guys I discounted, not because he's fallen off, but because I don't think he's actually found what makes him good yet. But he's got wins over Ozeki now. He's got wins over a few other people that matter, and he's got a Kimbo sheet to his name, which is no small feat.
No.
So again, Oho, I'm not impressed by him yet, but I'm not a detractor of his anymore. Someone I'm starting to pay attention to.
Oho at Megashira 6 pushed out a 9-6, had an epic fight with Midori Fuji. Kind of hard to explain that bout. It was his footwork was pretty good, and he basically, I think he nearly got Kotanage very early by Midori Fuji and just escaped at the last moment. Finally wrapped him up and forced him out, but that's if you want to, I think Midori Fuji is always an exciting wrestler. He's got about 3 or 4 epic bouts during the match, but that was one of the good ones. Unusual Kimarite, a Kimadashi, where I think Kimadashi is one of the ones, the lift up and over the bales or something. Might be something like that. I might need to go to my buns, my Kimarite sheet, as it were, to work that
you
one
would
out.
know, despite me watching every match, you are the teacher and have a better knowledge than me that I wish to learn from.
No, it's the Terunofuji special Kimadashi, the arm barring force out, where they lock up both arms and force you back over the bales. And
the meat hooks. That's what we know that one is.
Yes, when Terunofuji does it and basically rips your arms from your shoulders.
I still remember him trying to break Tobizaru's arms and then him coming in the next day with double taped up shoulders.
It just looks so painful. Okay, Oho 6 made himself to 9-6, got himself Kachikoshi. So a pretty good tournament there for Oho. So back to Takanosho, he got himself a playoff match. Unfortunately, it didn't go as well for him. It was a pretty easy win there for the Yokozuna. Sorry, I was just pushing through my note there.
It was close, though.
Yeah, look, Takanosho went for Big Nodowa, locked him up. Terunofuji locked up his arm and got a body grip on the other side, controlled him back to the bales on the defensive. I thought, Takanosho pushed him back, but of course, the Yokozuna are back at the bales. You've seen him so many times. If he's got time and he's got a grip, he is almost unbeatable back on that bale defense.
Some pretty good wins as well, especially towards the end, beating Shodai Ura, Kirishima, Terunofuji, and Onosato in a row. Again, I kind of counted him out in recent years where he's just kind of this guy that shows up, but Wakamoto Haru as well in that list. And now he's actually looking really solid and really starting to pick it up. So I'll be paying attention to him next Basho, see what he's up to.
I think everyone will be having a look to see where he's at. Certainly doesn't mind going forward. He doesn't mind the Nodowa thrust. I think Wakamoto Haru found that out the hard way. He got 2 really nasty Nodowa neck thrusts. He just couldn't recover from those. So certainly really performed well. Moving on to some of the other performers, Kodazakura finished on a 10-5, got himself double digits. Again, I know we spoke about this last time. I think Kodazakura, you think he'd have to be a bit disappointed with the 10-5, given that Hoshoryu didn't finish, Takakeisho's not doing well, Kirishima's fallen down the list. You'd have to look at that and think, geez, I could have done better there.
Could have done better, yes, but I think it's important to note that the only people that he lost to were other Sanyaku. So the only people that can beat him are the top dogs. And he did something that I think is very important in this Basho by beating Terunofuji.
Mm,
Because that
mm,
was an 8-0 matchup. And I believe that it's either Kodazaka or Onusato that become the next Ozeki. Not
mm.
next year, but
The
in
next
time.
Yokozuna, you mean?
Sorry, correct. The next
Yeah, yeah,
Yokozuna.
yeah.
And in time they will, not anytime soon. And if
Yeah,
Kodazaka never beat Terunofuji, I feel like that would always be a bit of a stain on the next generation that they were
mm,
never able to beat the previous generation.
I very
But
much
now that
agree.
he's
Yeah.
done that, and now that he convincingly did that, it's like, all right, this is it. Now it's time for you to really explode as a
Mm,
wrestler and
mm,
really become the top dog. You know?
yeah. And I think that's a fair point in terms of anyone who wants to be Yokozuna. I mean, Onosato of the current mob before Kotozakura got that win, Onosato is really one of the few in Senyaku who's actually beaten him. Kirishima hasn't, Hoshoryu hasn't. Not sure if Arby has. I'd have to have a look at their matchup there, but certainly, a pretty good fight. Locked up. Terunofuji, of course, locked up his arms, and Kotozakura did well to pull back and get his arms out, and obviously Kotozakura used the momentum, a little bit of a belt help to get a Wata Dashinage, the open belt, inside open belt throw to get him down on his face. So, yeah, look, I would think whilst he still lost to Kirishima, Hoshoryu, Abe, and Daisho, and one to Mitakayumi, I would still think, to me, uh, a 10-5 with the other Ozeki underperforming, I think a 10-5 is probably, to me, disappointing.
Disappointing, but he is capable of more. We know that. And
Mm,
now that he's
mm,
beaten the Yokozuna, I feel like this was just a bad one for him.
mm,
And a
mm.
bad one for an Ozeki being 10 wins is a pretty comfortable place to be, knowing that he can do better.
Yes.
And just to your previous point, the Terunofuji Abi head-to-head is 6-2.
6-2 to
So he has beaten him.
Terunofuji. Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Abi's beaten him twice.
Well done. Hoshoryu finished on 9-3-3. Went Kyujo on day 13 after his bout Kubunage win over Kotozakura. So it was a neck around a hand around the neck to throw your opponent like you're rolling inwards. He had that back leg and lifted, as Hoshoryu does, lifted his opponent's back leg and helped him roll him over. That hurt his hip, which put Hoshoryu out. I would add Hoshoryu to the Ozeki list, but I think undercooked is what I'd say there in terms of Hoshoryu. I think he has the potential to get there, and I think there's a couple of funny little losses there that you over time that you just think shouldn't have lost that, shouldn't have lost that. And that's not just this tournament. There's a few of those.
I'm not exactly seeing Hoshoryu as a potential Yokozuna candidate,
Mm,
but for the reasons that you pointed out, he doesn't have the consistency that Kodazakura has.
mm,
He like what makes a Yokozuna is winning the 80-20 matchups,
mm,
where it's like
mm.
that really is much greater, where you shouldn't be able to drop those for at least a year or two before they finally get one on you.
Yeah,
But with Hoshoryu, it's just like every other Basho, he loses to just random people, it seems like. Like,
mm.
why is Gonayama ever beating him?
Yes. I mean, Gonayama, the king of the Nodowas, basically just hit him with repeated neck thrusts and showed he just couldn't recover his balance.
Hmm.
And you'd think he would have a plan for that sort of thing. I, I'm kind of interested. He's almost did two hankers this tournament, and usually people who hanker repeatedly either have some sort of injury or there's something going on that they don't feel that they can face them up. Or, I mean, in the case of, say, Tobizaru and Hiradumi, the two guys he did hanker, like I said on commentary, I think sometimes they hanker to against guys who really charge hard at the touchy eye, and it's almost like you can charge hard, but you just need to be careful that next time I might just step out of the way.
Pretty much, yeah. He's not finished. There's just he's just missing a few more things. Where in the case of Kota Sakura, he's really just missing one thing to really elevate himself.
Mm. He's also the king of the leg trips, I would say at this point. Although Tobizaru did an amazing little inside leg sweep that was just fantastic during this tournament to challenge him for the leg sweep tripping.
Good sumo is what I call it.
Yes, good sumo. Ashoma Keikeshi, where he basically, they call it a minor inside front leg sweep. But it was, I know I reacted when I saw it. It was like he just, normally it puts them off balance, but he just absolutely took him down when he did it. So excellent. Hoshoryu getting the Sotogake leg trip and the Kubanage, two unusual ones. He also got against Arby, and I kind of watched this fight again, and I'm still not sure how to see this one. Asaka Totari, which is an armbar counter. So Totari being the arm pull, Saka Totari being a counter move. I'm not sure if I picked that one out of the list.
Very, very confusing.
Yes,
He does a lot of different stuff in a row, which makes him impressive to me.
yeah, it's good to. I like to see guys who have, like, they're not just all Yorikiri Oshidashi. I think there's, a little bit of. It shows a bit of capability, adaptability, willing to try different techniques and have a go. Okay, Takakeisho Ozeki 2 East with Kataban status 6 and 9, which means, he goes down to Seki Wake at the next tournament. He has to get 10 wins like Hiroshima failed to do this tournament to get back up to Ozeki. I did see one of his interviews after the tournament, and he just said, look, Ozeki's are meant to be strong, and I wasn't. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing for him.
Probably the best way he could have put that. Look, 5 years at Ozeki, a lot of very impressive matches in the meantime. I think he's got the second highest Yushos in top division right now.
I mean, you can't.
Maybe Mitaki Yume is close to that.
You can't but respect a man who's been at that level, at that rank for 5 years, has escaped Kataban so many times with so many injuries, and to stay at that rank, to just consistently perform over such a long time in such a difficult sport, carrying so much weight. So all power to him when he goes down to Sekiwake next tournament. I'm not so confident that he'll get there.
Yeah, if he goes to Sekiwake, Goedo retired before the next Banzuke even came out and denied himself a pretty healthy paycheck just so he could always have Ozeki on his record.
It's a bit of an ego thing.
Yeah, I predict Onosato, I don't know why I said him, Takakeisho will do the same thing, considering the rumors I've heard is that he's able to run the stable now if he retires. So there is an exit plan for him.
It's look, I'm sure most of them do have that exit plan. It was interesting he had that fight against Arby. I haven't seen Takakeisho react normally when he has a loss. He's normally very stoic in the face, but he got that. It went down with Arby, and Arby was holding back, dancing on the bales as he went down front ways and over the bales, and bit of a Totari, they called it, I think, or no, Hataki Komi. He touched down first. Monoe was called, and they gave it to Arby, and yet I've not seen him react. It was just a little, what's the word, a raised eyebrow from the loss, and I'm sure when he watches the replay, he'll know that he lost.
Yeah, very subtle. All right, then.
It's subtle is sometimes very loud.
Yeah.
Onosato, our winner of the Yusho last time in May, I should say, on a 12-3. He got 9-6 this tournament. A little bit of a slow start. Couple of losses in the first 4 days. 3 losses. Otherwise, a fairly good tournament. Performed fairly well, but then lost to Kotazakura. Beat the Yokozuna yet again. So you look, still there. He's still in with a chance of, I think, Ozeki next time, but he's put himself under a bit of pressure by getting less than double digits.
Yeah, just quietly, a 9-6 with a Fusen. So, his worst performance yet, and 9-6 at Sekewake is a pretty comfortable worst performance to have, considering how long he's been here. So
I think
absolutely an elite wrestler. I think the only person who's positive over Terunofuji, maybe in the sport, aside from like potential 5th division dorks that he lost to along the way up the ranks.
Yeah. Oh, I think Takanosho might have just gone positive against him too with that win.
True.
In regular time, the certainly not the playoff though, so not sure how they count that. I do know that Fusen wins, they don't take that into account when they're doing the Ozeki. They'll still count it as a win. So I think he's at about 33 now for 3 tournaments, but the first one was about Maegashira 5 or something, so they won't count that towards an Ozeki run. He'd be looking for a good tournament in September. Probably will need around 12 or 13 wins. I haven't added that up yet. Kirishima, Sekiwake 2. He was Kataban Ozeki, came down to Sekiwake, needed 10 wins, could only struggle out 8. He was on track there. Day 13 and 14, he faced Takanosho and Abe, lost to Terunofuji, which is no great shame, but the fact that he still can't get up to beat him at the moment is probably denting his confidence if he ever wants to be a Yokozuna.
To that point of the Ozeki promotion, as far as I could find, because I worked this out a while ago, there's only one guy that got promoted from Maegashira being incorporated, and that was when he was M4 and went 14-1 Yusho, and then 11-4, 11-4 at Sekiwake. So they counted those 3 to give him the Ozeki promotion. The only asterisk on there is that he was already an Ozeki, and that was in 1977. So
okay, yeah,
different era, was already an Ozeki, and it was a 14-1 Yusho. So there is precedent, but it's a pretty big ask from a Maegashira rank into Sanyaku for the Ozeki.
Yeah, I did see one of the what do you call it? The Liberation Council people said that they weren't likely to count the Maegashira scores this time, and they'd made it pretty clear. I think there was a bit of noise around the fact that perhaps they should, and they went, "No, we're not going to." So
not ready yet.
Yes,
that was Kaiketsu for those wondering.
Kirishima, look, lost to Onosato. Just couldn't get a belt grip and was helped back over the bales by Onosato. Hiradumi, whose timing was a little bit off, but his power this tournament was fairly unstoppable by most. He got hit hard by Hiradumi at the Tachiai. They tried to brawl, but it was just headed in the wrong direction very quickly, and Hiradumi just charged him out of the ring. It shows Kirishima's got a bit of weakness at the moment still.
Kirishima's not 100%. Maybe the injury hasn't healed. He's in a new stable. His coaching is different. His training partners are different. That's probably affected things a lot. He's operating different. He still has the skill that he used to, but is he the same wrestler now? Is he doing what he should be doing? Yeah, because all of his Yushos were under the previous coach, and now he seems to have fallen off.
It seems to have fallen away. That change of coach has really not gone well for him. I personally, I think that loss in January to Terunofuji somehow dented his confidence, dented his. I think he probably got an injury from it, and he's not recovered from that. But it was a pretty nasty loss as they go. I don't think I've seen anyone lose that effectively before. He got fairly well yeeted into the crowd, as it were. So poor old Kirishima, he will stay. He was lucky he only just got Kachikoshi 8 and 7, so he will stay at Sekiwake, but only just. He is hoping he will improve a bit more. Maybe a little bit underdone because he did come into this tournament with that neck injury still going. On to Komusubi Daisho. Look, got his Kachikoshi 8 and 7. Not very convincing.
Daisho, do you want to see a good match? Nah. Big, meaty men slapping meat. That's Daisho. It is some of the most fun you can watch in sumo.
So I said he is the threshing machine, and that's why I watch his matches. They are just full on power. His weakness, however, is that power gets him far too forward, and he just gets Hataki Komi'd all the time. He's suffered that, I think, 3 or 4 every couple of matches. Someone just steps out of his way and lets him eat dirt.
Yeah, pretty much all threshing machine style wrestlers have that weakness, unfortunately. And it comes with the territory. The advantage is if you have the strength and the agility, you can absolutely monster the person in front of you. But if not, and if you can't really set that up right, you will fall over. Because that's the direction you're going, is forward with that style of sumo.
Well, he gave it a fair go against the Yokozuna. He really tried to go hard at him from the tachiai. He had the impertinence to go for a big Nodowa thrust on the Yokozuna, and got him under pressure. But of course, that's who it was. Daisho did the big pirouette in front of Terunofuji, and Terunofuji just doesn't have the speed to jump in and get him. But he certainly doesn't have that sort of pace. But he still got him, caught him, and took him over the bales. That threshing, I don't know, is Terunofuji the man you want to try that against? I mean, you've got to try your own sumo.
What else can he do?
Yes, exactly. It's like, how am I going to beat this man? I'll just do my sumo and see how it goes.
Daisho is extremely good at doing that, so why would you go for a plan B, you know?
Yeah, and I think, same with Goniyama. Goniyama and Kirishima both, I don't know, they went in with their sumo. Would you say it was their sumo? But they basically played straight into the Yokozuna's hands, and I think, whereas Ura, whilst he's a bit of a chaos agent, he did try something different. He did have a different plan going, but maybe Ura's got something different going all the time.
Ura's a mystery, and he forever will be. I wouldn't worry about it.
Hirodumi Komusubi finished with Shin Komusubi, I should say. First time, new Komusubi, 10-5. What a tournament at in the meat grinder position.
Yeah, congratulations, Hirodumi. Constantly getting better, constantly improving. Shows up at Komusubi, gets first time he's gotten 10 wins since M16 2 years ago. So
yeah, he's kind of slowly just made his way. He did get a hanker on Onosato, and Onosato face planted, which was unusual to me. I expected him to go in hard at Onosato and maybe Onosato to hanker, but there you go.
I'm scared to think of an Onosato hanker. I don't know if he's that kind of guy.
Well, it's like the Ole he did to Daisho last year. He does the hit, the shift, and then Ole, off you go, son.
Oh, he will after a match has started, but I don't know if he'll hanker right out of the gate. Then again, there is the Terunofuji hanker against Kota Shigeko, which is just so strange to watch. So maybe anything is possible.
Yes. So back to where we were. We've got some of the guys who did well down the list. Meisei failed completely after a 10-5 in May, pulled out a 4-11. Just didn't work for him. That being said, he had some big matches this tournament. He really had to go thrust for thrust with a fair few of the guys. A lot of high energy affairs against Tobizaru, Onosato, Daisho, Hirodumi. Really had to work hard, and it just didn't work for him. So he'll be falling down the list. Our former Sekiwake.
Not surprised from Meisei. Sometimes he does great, sometimes he looks terrible. There really doesn't seem to be a consistency to it. It's sort of like Daisho's crash forward style of sumo, but he just leaves himself subject to fate sometimes, I find.
I don't think he's as defined as Daisho in terms of that threshing. He's certainly a high energy, but I just think he's a bit more. He's not as committed to it, to throwing his head in there. Atami Fuji, Megashira 1, 7-8. Makekoshi yet again, but still in that meat grinder position. I was impressed by Atami Fuji this tournament, even though the score doesn't get him there. I thought my criticism of Atami Fuji since he's been in the top division has been his lack of strength. He just hasn't built that sort of inner body strength, the body core that people like Hoshoryu have just yet. And I think this time he's made a big step in strength. Whilst he got Makikoshi, he certainly showed he can go body to body with a few of them and drive them back.
Nah, he's better than the rest, but he's not better than the best. Just not quite Sanyaku yet. Definitely capable of beating some Sanyaku, which is impressive, but just look, M1, that's a pretty good ceiling to have right now, considering he's only 21, you know? A few years from now, I'm sure we'll be seeing, Sekiwake, maybe even Ozeki Atami Fuji with some pretty good wins to his name.
I mean, his match against Shonanumi. Now, Shonanumi is a big man and very large, very powerful wrestler. And he got a Yorikiri over Shonanumi. And I was impressed there because it just really showed his strength against a guy that's that big, big double lock on his arms. I think his body strength to lift Shonanumi to a more standing position and force the Yorikiri, that really showed me that he's improved.
Definitely.
Wakamoto Haru, Magashira 2 East, our former Sekiwake, dropping down the Barnes-Kei in a big way, 6-8 after his injury, 4-8-3 in May. He's got some problems, and it's just not working for him. I will say late in the tournament, his fight against Meisei, Wakamoto Haru really escaped. He was under serious pressure at one stage, right up on the bales, and recovered, got him on the belt and dumped him out of Watanabe. Really good win, and his probably the one that was impressive to me. Whilst Ryuden was nowhere this tournament, Wakamoto Haru really got into his favoured grip and showed himself that it could still work. On the last day, so maybe he'll leave the tournament with a bit of confidence after those two wins.
I have a running theory that the Waka brothers are only allowed a certain amount of wins between them every Basho, which is why they
share it around.
Which is why they keep Waka Takamoto in third division, so he can't take as many of them.
Look, I'll be, like I said to you, I'll be in Japan in September. The intent is to head up to Fukushima and see go to the old man's Chunko Nabe restaurant up there and see what's in the juice up there, see if I can absorb some power.
Lovely. I'd like for you to take some photos of the photos on the wall for me.
But you guarantee that it will be a food mystery, as you say. Mitakayumi, 7-8. Kachikoshi didn't really get himself there. Look, a couple of good wins, but again, losing to Takakeisho, losing to RB, Terunofuji, Hoshoryu, Kirishima, just can't quite push himself past the Sanyaku at the moment. Has, like you said about Atami Fuji, better than the rest, not better than the best.
Beat Honosato and Kodazakura, though. So
true.
Very impressive there. Like 7-8 at M2. I don't think he's ever getting back to Ozeki.
I think he was
pretty good regardless.
He was probably a little bit lucky to get that win over Kodazakura. Shitatanage outside belt grip throw. That was the one where they went over the bales together and Koto Shoho's right shoulder touched a moment before Mitakayumi. There is a fantastic photo that one of I think it was Nippon Sports might have taken. It's on my Instagram from the tournament where the pair of them are effectively face down, about to smack into the ground. It's a really good photo. Not sure who the photographer was. I'd give them credit if it did. But he was a little bit perhaps fortunate to get that one. Onosato just early got a big drive on Onosato and he just didn't have an answer to it. Moving on, Takayasu out Kyujo after day one, the big bear. He will drop down the order from Magashira 3. Gonayama, he finished at 5-10, another pretty poor tournament from Gonayama. Tobizaru will move on to 9
Real
and
quick
6.
though, congratulations, Tobizaru. Tobizaru Goniyama, his first Basho in 5 Basho, where he didn't get a Fusen victory.
He did beat he beat two of the Sanyaku, Hoshoryu and Onosato. So
Pretty
a fairly
impressive.
yes, it was a pretty decent win over Onosato. He just got some big neck thrusts, and it was all a bit too easy that one. So
Just it is a
Onosato,
little bit of an asterisk I've kind of had with him, where it does look like he's doing quite impressive, but he is getting days off when everyone else isn't, and picked up 5 Fusens in 4 Basho, 2 of which
yep.
in the one where he went 10-5, which
Mm,
is
mm.
a little bit questionable. So now that he's 5-10 at M3, it's kind of what I expected.
Well, he's up in that meat grinder position. He's facing some of those higher guys a bit earlier. That
Yeah.
first week is fairly hard for him. He got 3 wins in the first 9 days, which is he's not going to let you anywhere even close to getting Kachikoshi. So Tobizaru doing well in that Magashira 3 position, picked himself up a 9 and 6. A good start to the tournament, a little bit of a middle patch where he faced Terunofuji, some of the Sanyaku, he copped a bit of a pasting, and he had a bit of an easier second week with some of the lower order guys. I did have one of his fights there that I had listed as having a look at. He impressed me a little bit in terms of a little bit more consistency. He had a pretty high energy affair against Meisei. He did get hankered by Hoshoryu, which is unfortunate. And he tried to hanker on Oho, but Oho survived. So, and then Arby tried to hanker him, but he recovered. So he had a real hanker tournament.
But yeah, Tobizaru is also very difficult to predict, so hard to
Chaos
keep
Agent,
track, really.
the flying monkey.
Chaos Agent, the term that likes to get thrown around.
Mm. Let's move on to Ura. Look, geez, I'm disappointed. Megashire 4, 6 and 9. He just, like Midori Fuji, he is an absolute trier, and no matter what you do, you can't look away from his match.
No. Probably the only Rikishi on the Banzuke that can go negative and his fans are still happy.
Yes. Certainly, the as we said before, the Terunofuji match, that one will be on my list for fight of the year. Certainly one of the 2 I thought fights of the tournament. Got a win against Atami Fuji, and got a right grip on him and pulled him back, and for a Shitatanage open belt pull. I remember that one. It was a good win. Moving on, Onosho, he went at Kyujo after day 3 with a ankle ligament, so he'll be out. They said 3 to 6 weeks. I doubt we'll see him in September. Shonanumi got himself a Makikoshi 7 and 8. Not a great tournament for him. Did face a
Not a
lot
bad
more of
one
the
either, though.
not bad. He faced a lot of the Sanyaku and a lot of the upper order guys. Wasn't very successful. I think did get the win over Takakeisho on day 15 with a hanker.
Yeah, he is permanently removed from the homie list for doing that. He
It
was
was
he was
it was
already negative. Takakeisho was already negative.
yes.
It was the last match. It was so rude.
It it was an excellent salmon fish flop by Takakeisho though, to eat dirt.
I believe he only did it for the Ozeki paycheck.
Possibly. So we've covered Takanosho Oho. We've said 9 and 6 at Magashira 6. He did get that win over Kota Shoho on day 1, but replay showed that Kota Shoho, Oho actually touched first. No Mono-E, so a bit unlucky there. Kota Shoho got himself his Kachikoshi 8 and 7. Sadanumi 5 and 10. Really Couple of wins
Umi's
early.
win over Ryuden on day one was beautiful. He was
Mm,
in a
mm.
completely upright losing position with his arms clamped away, and he just hoiked him out of the ring. And I thought, this guy's going to go crazy, this Basho. Did you just see that? And then he went 5-10, so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it's just he got blasted out by Karashoho, got pretty much Sapari thrusted out by Kim Bozan, and just, you know, Shonanumi gave him a decent push. Takanosho, some thrusting and slapping. Maybe he needs to work on that thrusting game, go and get some lessons off Daisho.
Fair enough.
Ryuden had a terrible tournament, 3-12, after getting a double digit back in May. Nagoya does not agree with Ryuden. Could only beat Roga, Oho, and Kimbozan the entire tournament. So the less said about Ryuden, the better. Kimbozan again, 4-11. I've got both of those guys dropping down my prediction list quite dramatically. Ashoma, who debuted last tournament with a 10-5, could only manage a 7-8 this tournament. I was still not unimpressed with his sumo. I thought he did fairly well. Maybe guys, you come in and guys work you out after they got a bit of video to watch on how you fight. Took a loss to Midori
Shodai,
Fuji.
yeah, Shodai himself said he was surprised at how well he was doing. So
Mm-hmm. I mean,
interesting one by him.
I was impressed by him last tournament. I thought he fought really well, and even early this tournament, his first three wins were really good wins against Kim Bozan. Just moved well, got on the belt, turned him left and forced him over. Did get Yorakiri'd by Midori Fuji, and there's not many people that can say they got Yorakiri'd by frontal forced out by Midori Fuji.
Humbling, that.
Yes, yes. Tamawashi, another Kachikoshi at Magashira 9. A bit of a nothing tournament for him. Didn't really
Uninjured,
feature.
though. Lifetime record
Yes.
inbound.
He must be. He must be. I think next tournament he passes one of those all-time records. I know he's so close to so many of those consecutive match records. It's not funny, like 1,000 matches and things like that.
1,200
Yeah,
something, I
that's
believe.
insane. It's an
I'm going to take
insane
a
amount.
guess here and say 1,281. I'm
You
looking
got
at 1,000. Not even close. 1,628.
it's just a marathon, a life marathon.
Also, here's a fun thing to think about. 7 Kimboshi. You get a cash prize for showing up every day.
Mm, mm.
He's been showing up for a while with those Kimboshi.
Yes. Well, I think their pay system's like it's almost like a defined benefit superannuation. You get like a multiple, so they get like 10 yen for this and 100 yen for that and 1,000 yen for that, but it is multiplied by this figure, which gets their final figure. And every time they get a Kimboshi, it adds like 2,000 or something. It's a
I think
really
it's
good paycheck
2,000
there.
yen flat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great outcome for him. I'm sure he owns a gold Ferrari now.
Happy days.
Yes, there is a bit of discussion about, and I've seen a bit of discussion about the pay for sumo in the top division and even the lower divisions, and perhaps they need to
They
consider.
pay the lower divisions?
They only pay down to Jurio where they make Sekitori, but below that, in terms of those guys, there's a lot of guys down there that just never get paid, and they're down in those divisions and they're just living on a subsistence sort of, I would say wage or stipend from their stable. And perhaps it's a comment for a later time to discuss how they look at remunerating those people.
Just quietly, I know Sanchai tells the story of when he was, I think, 10. He won a fight in a Muay Thai and got 30 baht for his fight. And what that translates to was a single pack of Mentos when I was in Thailand in 2008 cost 10 baht. So just enough for a trip for some lollies is what he got for his first fight.
I would have been impressed with that if I was 10.
Absolutely.
You couldn't not be impressed with, I got some money. Shodai 10-5 at Megashira 10. Couple of really good wins. Midori Fuji got on his belt. Midori Fuji got on the belt early and made his life difficult. But he just leaned over the back of him and turned him around, pivoted him, and forced him over. So really good win there against a wiggly little Midori Fuji. Had a win against Wakataka Kage as well.
Yeah, expected more from him at M10, considering how well he does around M3. But positive, still positive.
Double digits, not bad. The losses he had were to Tamawashi and Ichi Yamamoto early, and then we had Oho, Takanosho, and Kageyaki. Losing to Kageyaki just kept him off from any grip and an inside position, and fairly easily forced him back and over as a fairly, I would say, not a great loss for Shodai there. Midori Fuji, I've got this spreadsheet going, and I keep all these notes, and I look at them, and I mark yellow for the match that I think is a match I need to go back. It just you look at his things, and they're full of yellow in terms of watching his match. They're like Ura, you just can't look away. You just never know what he's going to do.
Very entertaining sumo.
I think. Look, there are a couple of big matches there. The match against Wakataka Kage, he finished on 8-7, finally got a Kachikoshi. It's been a few tournaments since Midori Fuji has gotten Kachikoshi. It was 5-10 in May, which has seen him down to M10. The Wakataka Kage match, you've got to watch on slow speed because it happens so fast and it's like it's on double speed.
Like any good Wakataka Kage match, though.
Yes. Probably the one that will join be Wakataka Kage and Oho. Those two matches I'll be having a look at for the end of the year. Pretty good matches. He did take a loss for both of them, but you can't say he didn't try hard there. The one against Ryuden, I think he tried to Karasakashi Ryuden 3 times, and Ryuden did everything in his power to keep Midori Fuji out from under his armpit.
Yeah, pretty standard work from him though. So
but I mean, you can see the guys they do panic a bit when they feel that arm go up under their armpit.
You lose a lot of strength once that starts lifting. It's a scary thing. You basically have a whole side of you shut off when that, like with the Ur match, when that elbow was so far cranked behind him. It's a dead body weight at that point.
It's partly, I think Terunofuji lost one like that. He got turned sideways and just lost that whole left shoulder. And I think it was he got a bit sideways. Takanosho got him sideways at the Tachi-Eye and just got under his shoulder, and he just couldn't do anything with it. Once he got there, he was like, well, I'm stuffed.
True.
Let's move on to a man I want to talk about, Ichi Yamamoto. 8-7, got his Kachikoshi, only just. So you may have seen the video with Ichi Yamamoto and Asanayama, where they're talking about Ichi Yamamoto's fanboy collection of Wakataka Kage. Now, Ichi comes from, he was a public servant in like the transport department or something, joined sumo late, so he's obviously a fan of sumo and is a Wakataka Kage super fan, has all sorts of merchandise. Well, he finally faced Wakataka Kage for the first time and beat him. Watanabe, Wakataka Kage drove him back, powered through Ichi Yamamoto's Sapari thrusts, but Ichi Yamamoto at the edge did a little bit of an endo, slipped left, and reached behind Wakataka Kage and pulled him forward over the bales for that win. A, you get to meet your hero in sport. B, you not only get to meet him, but you get to fight him. And C, then you beat him and knock him out of the Yusho race. How do you feel?
It's weird. I don't have anything to compare it to. I find it strange that he has posters of essentially his co-worker.
Yes. Could you imagine someone turning up to work and saying, "I've got a Goose poster on my wall"?
I would not know what to do. I would leave. That's what I would do.
He's had.
There was the Great Abema thing that they played before that match where they showed Wakataka Kage watching Ichi Yamamoto talk about him and show off his stuff, and he said, no comment.
I'd be sitting there going, I'm not sure if I'm being stalked or whether he's in love with me.
It's very strange to think about.
Yes, he did have another incident during the tournament. His bestie Asanayama, Ichi Yamamoto was fighting Asanayama, got him back to the bales, and poor old Asanayama, his left knee anterior cruciate ligament popped under the pressure, and he went down injured. And I'm sure, as anyone would, whilst they still fight full strength, you'd be absolutely mortified that you've hurt your friend and effectively ended his sumo career. So a bit of a shame there for Ichi Yamamoto and Asanayama there.
It is unfortunate, but it's the nature of the sport. These things will happen. It's not that he was going in there intending to do that, so you can only really feel so bad about it. Because Ichi Yamamoto knows the risks are just as real for him as well. And as a older, more worn down man like Asanayama, and considering the injuries he's picked up already, it's just expected to happen eventually, you
know. Another impressive wrestler this time, Churunumi Megashira 12, got himself a 10-4, was in the Yusho race right up until the end. Onosato beat him on day 14, I think it was. Just couldn't follow through at the end. Our man from, I think he's from Okinawa, the only Okinawan sumo wrestler in the field, so he's quite popular down there.
Is he?
It's almost like an Ura in Osaka situation.
Oh, lovely.
Many signs. Got a good win. Got a couple of good wins as he went along. He did fight most of the lower order guys. Probably the highest. Well, he lost to Wakataka Kage, who shouldn't be at Megashira 10 or 11 or something. So quality wrestler there. Just couldn't get a belt grip. Couldn't get it there, and Waka kept him off balance. Lost to Asanayama. Oh, I will say Asanayama's early part of his tournament, he beat Nishikigi and Hokutofuji and Churunumi before he hurt himself against Ichi Yamamoto. I was really impressed with Asanayama in those early matches. He just looked strong. He looked like he was in form, and it's just the most unfortunate injury.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen, though. To put it bluntly, falling over is a bad thing. And the way you win this sport is by making your opponent fall over. And
fairly simple.
And to get to this level of the sport, I mean, just look at Terunofuji. He's not exactly in good shape himself. So I feel like people get a little bit too. I feel like some people get a little too caught up on the injuries when in reality it's fighting. These things happen.
It's part of it.
To put it poetically, the Yokozuna kind of stands atop a mountain of corpses to get to where he is. You never think about the guys down in 4th Division that never made it and got hurt anyway. Yes. It's kind of what makes it beautiful in a way. Just the as cruel as it is to say, defying the injuries to get to top division in the first place is kind of a thing. So I'm not saying it doesn't suck. It does suck, but
we'll move on to the special prizes. The outstanding performance prize went to Onosato on a 9-6 at Sekiwake. Those prizes usually come with a cash prize about to $20,000, I think it is. Anyway, Onosato got one of the outstanding performance prizes on 9-6, beating Terunofuji, Kirishima, Takakeisho, and Hoshoryu. So fairly well deserved up at that rank. First time in Sekiwake. Takanosho, interestingly, at M6, in the playoff for the Yusho, was in the running for the outstanding performance prize if he won the Yusho. So lost on the playoff. He did beat Kirishima, Onosato, Terunofuji and got his Kimboshi there. So you get a pay jump fighter. But he came back and they gave him the Fighting Spirit Prize, the Kanto Show. It's unusual how you've got to, you're in the playoff for the U Show, but you can only get the outstanding performance if you win the bloody thing.
I mean, winning it would be an outstanding performance.
Yes, it would.
So there's that. Seeing talks of favoritism, completely unproven forms, claims of favoritism with no previous examples to back it up. So, like a lot of people saying, look, a 9-6 Sekiwake special performance prize, is that deserved? Kind of. He stopped at 10-0 Yokozuna. That's a pretty big impressive performance.
We beat most of the at 9-6. I think your first time in Sekiwake after coming in off a hot tournament and still beating the Sanyaku. I think to me that's a very impressive performance, and beating the Yokozuna yet again. I think that's deserved of an outstanding performance. Takanosho takes home the Fighting Spirit, so he'll take a little paycheck there.
He did get the prize anyway, and the new show where you get the Junior Show with a playoff loss. So it's a bigger deal than a Junior Show, basically.
Hirodumi picked up the Technique Prize on a 10-5. He lost to Terunofuji, Hoshoryu, Daisho, Wakatakage, and Kotazakura, but he did beat Abe, Onosato, Kirishima, Takakeisho, and a few of the others. So I would. He's had a really good tournament. 10-5, holds his spot on the Bansuke at Komusubi. Would love to see him back it up in September. Moving on to the Bansuke, we'll see Takakeisho drop to Sekiwake. Goose's prediction, he's gone before the Bansuke comes out. I don't know. I think he might give it a go at Sekiwake. Depends on how he feels. Depends if he feels that he can come back if his neck's any better. But if it isn't, I reckon he'll pull the pin straight away.
Sadly, I think we've seen almost saw the end of Terunofuji, depending on if he U-showed or not. If he 15-0'd, I think he would have retired on that, because what better way to do it? I think Takakeisho is going to retire as well, and on top of that, we lost Kirishima's chance of getting Sekiwake. We almost lost 3 people at once. But right now, I think it's just Takakeisho is gone.
Like, obviously, the Yokozuna committee has to sit there and work out whether they're going to elevate him to Dai Yokozuna, and I think he might be waiting for that before he makes a decision one way or the other. I would suggest if they give it to him, he'll pull the pin straight away.
For sure.
My predictions, Onosato, Abe, Kirishima and Takakeisho will be Sekiwake, Hirodumi and Daisho at Komusubi. I don't see that changing, do you?
No.
Looking at the Bansuke, and I had a bit of a chop at it today, Tobizaru and Takanosho at Magashira 1. Atami Fuji, maybe a little demotion. Meta Kiyumi, a little demotion to Magashira 2. I did have Wakataka Kage coming up to about Magashira 7. And that's probably one of the bigger movers. I still think we'll get 5 from Juryo. The winner is down around Juryo. I think he was about Juryo 7 or 8. And I'm told he's a bit of an Ura-like wrestler. So that should be interesting for September.
Plenty to look forward to in September, isn't there?
I'm just not sure where it's going to go with, again, this week Sanyaku sort of changeable field where we're losing a few of the senior guys. Terunofuji did say only today or yesterday that he thought the field was some of the biggest depth he'd seen so far.
For what it's worth, I get the feeling that Onosato, Hirodumi, and Daisho, and Kotazakura are going to be the 4 guys that stay in Sanyaku for a while. They seem like mainstays to me now.
I think Kirishima's got the technique if he can get himself healthy.
Definitely.
Anyway, that's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for joining me again, Goose. We'll I don't know how September's going to look just yet in terms of getting any episodes out while I'm on the road, traveling around Japan. But I will definitely get something out while I'm over there. I think live commentary might be a little bit of a challenge for me. I might be. I will, however, go to the Kokugikan women's bathroom. Try not to get arrested and get you a photo.
You can just stand out the front. It's okay. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Goose. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Hakioi, let's learn sumo.